for us to really truly have success, we have to have a measure of humility. And that humility is knowing that I didn't get here on my own. Like we will never, you want to reach heights of 6 figures, 7 figures, you're not going to do that on your own. Someone has to help you along the way. And I don't ever want to forget that, because by being cognizant of that, I know that when the pivots need to happen or changes need to happen, or it helps me to appreciate that as long as I continue to serve from the heart and serve my community the way that you've demonstrated, I'll be just fine.
Welcome back to the Balance Boldly podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm Naketa Thigpen, your host and balance and relationship advisor, partnering with you to change the narrative so we can amplify intimacy within and across your relationships, and you can have the freedom, flexibility, and confidence to thrive in work life and in love. All right, everybody, we are in the midst of season 20. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness. Season 20, all about the bold decisions we make that generate the biggest rewards. And I am not just talking about financial. If you have been following the Balance Boldly podcast, you know that money matters. We hashtag money matters on this show for sure, because we want to make sure that we have lives that we can live fully and in good integrity and authentically to our lifestyle expectations, because we deserve it. But it is not the core of what moves us. It is our spiritual core, our faith, our belief, our centers around our family, our morals, and our integrity. That is what moves us. So those big decisions that we create for ourselves when it comes to our self-love, our self-care, our intimacy with ourselves as well as with others, that is what generates everything. And those decisions obviously sprinkle across and ripple through not only our personal lives, but our professional lives as well, which is always why we say work life and love, because it all goes together, y'all. It just goes together. So today, I am so grateful on so many levels, because I have seen so many evolutions and ranges of this woman. If I could just picture, I don't know, I'm not an artist, but if you could picture a canvas, that the art on the canvas is literally moving in waves. And each time you look at it, it just gets better and better and deeper and wider and more colorful. And you just can't stop watching it. That's how I would describe this woman. Jasmin Haley. She is an incredible human, first and foremost. Business coach, educator, and consultant. And you know, on the Balance Boldly podcast, we live in that space of and. You do not have to be an or, because you are dope enough, if you're owning it all, to be all that you're supposed to be. So Jasmin, when she is not directly helping to impact the lives of her students, dental professionals, or coaching clients, she can be found on all kinds of stages across this globe, and I truly do mean that, an international speaker doing what she loves the most, which is making sure that she shares her story from her heart while she's training other professionals to do the same and grow to their next level of their best selves, by avoiding the overwhelm of burnout, fear, and self-doubt. Jasmin is constantly making sure she prioritizes helping other people rediscover their greatness and pursue their entrepreneurial goals. Host of multiple online audio conversations for women ready to move towards their greater selves, Jasmin's latest edition, titled Breakthrough to Excellence podcast, is beyond noteworthy. Make sure you check her out after you finish listening to this interview with her. Jasmin Haley, welcome to the Balance Boldly podcast. How are you today?
Thank you. Thank you. What a wonderful introduction. I just love you, Naketa. I am so thankful to be here, to have the opportunity to talk with you. And I'm excited. I was trying not to laugh as you were doing my bio. Yes, I need you to read it off of me every time I step into somewhere.
I will definitely be the hype woman. I am not mad at that. And we'll pull in Natalie Fikes so she can, be the world's greatest MC, and we'll have a whole party.
An epic one.
Exactly. I am so excited that you're here. I love you. Truly, truly love you, and all the greatness that you're doing in the world and everything that you've been able to accomplish just over the few short years that I've known you. I would love for you to just tell the Balance Boldly listeners a little bit about who you are and what pulls you forth in the world right now.
Wow. So I'm actually in a really big business pivot at this time. So
Mm-hmm.
I started off my career as a dental professional. I'm a dental hygienist, a healthcare provider, and I was treating clinically persons living with HIV and immersed in that world and helping vulnerable populations in public health and working in clinic. And then I decided to go into the world of education and thought that it was going to be the last thing I was ever going to do. I was going to be teaching and knew that I loved teaching and I loved everything about that. What I didn't realize was that I was actually in a very toxic work environment that I wind up getting very, very ill from. And which pushed me, I'll tell you more about that later, but it really pushed me out. After 4 years, I was very sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I left with no plan and I started my business. And so what I do now is I help female emerging entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in year 1 through 5 launch their business, get clear on their strategy, set up systems, get it organized so they can make it profitable. And I wind up there starting off as a hygienist all the way over into, doing now what I'm working with women who want to create some personal and professional freedom. So that's what I'm up to. It's crazy. It's crazy where my journey has taken me. Talk about evolution. I have evolved
Yeah, definitely.
tremendously over the years, but that's who I serve today.
No, I love it. And you know what's so funny is when I hear you talk about the evolution and kind of where you are, I remember some of our first earlier conversations, and I remember you saying that the message you have, is bigger than it's also for, but also bigger than just dental professionals. Because I know for a lot of people who don't know that people who are RDHs, am I saying the acronym correctly?
Yes, yes.
Registered
Great
dental
job.
hygienist. Thank you. I know that a lot of you, when you're working as an RDH, you're almost a micro business owner just based off of the nature of the role and going from office to office and really helping them, making sure that they have everything up to standard and being able to provide the level of care that you do as a registered, which I was going to say certified, because I know people mix that up sometimes with dental assistant and
Mhm.
RDH, and they
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
realize that there's a lot of consultant level work to what RDHs do. So they have to think like entrepreneurs and create micro businesses that way, which is kind of where, when I met you, that's where you were, was helping other people who were already RDHs just be as high level professionals as they could and providing them CEUs, and, within their trade as an RDH along the way, but also speaking into their entrepreneurial mindset back then.
Yeah.
So you were doing it, and now you've broadened it out where they don't have to just be dental professionals. I know anyone along the healthcare professional road could definitely relate to your story, and the nuances and the secret codes and acronyms of healthcare that
Yeah.
happen. And and now the stages are even broader. So it's really interesting to hear you talk about the evolution when the seeds were already there like years ago. And I think other people around you could see it. You probably just couldn't see it at the time.
No, I couldn't. I honestly could not. And I'm thankful though that despite the fact that I was in a emotional turmoil from stress related illness,
Yeah.
that I knew that I was at least good at educating. And I knew that I could utilize that. And what I started off with was a blog, Naketa. I was just interviewing amazing people and just pulling from their energy to keep me motivated. And gave my first continuing education course in 2015. And now in 2020, I got my first is it 5 figures? Yeah, 5 figure check for speaking.
That's what I'm talking about.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly didn't think that that was even a possibility for me at all. But
Mm.
what listeners don't realize is that um, you have to be in a place of receiving. And uh, what people don't know is that a lot of where I am today is because of Naketa pouring into me. I
Mm.
did not have an ounce of confidence, enough really, And Naketa and I met each other several years ago. I don't remember the year, honestly. And
me neither.
several years ago. Anywho, yeah, so she poured into me when I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was just taking step by step, didn't have the resources at all to invest in anything. I was bootstrapping all the way up and down. And in this journey that we take as entrepreneurs, you really need that guidance. You really need a safe place. And Naketa created that for me, and that gave me a chance to grow, so that I had enough confidence to keep moving forward. And I haven't stopped since. And that's because of you pouring into me the way that you did.
Oh, honey, I'm about to give you a microphone and pull you up on stage before I go to speak too. Like, listen, y'all want to know how awesome I am? Hold on, wait a minute. Let me call Jasmine to the mic. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And you've never, ever held back your thanks, which I also appreciate, because I don't think a lot of people do that along the way, to let someone know that what they're doing, saying, sharing, whatever it is, matters, regardless of how much it matters, even if it just fills the cup just a little bit, a little bit to get you going until, you can get some more poured into you or soaked up. So I really appreciate that, because I have to say, Jazz, that is, not something that a lot of us do, myself included, often enough. Like, we'll be like, oh, okay, thank you, after you end the phone call, but we don't necessarily circle back and say how much that helped or mattered, or what the shift was that really occurred afterwards. And it wasn't just a kind of, non-essential moment, if you will. So I really do appreciate that, because when you say thank you to me, it fills me up. There are lots of moments when you're just, because you do the same thing I do. You're a coach as well, and also a podcaster, also a transformational speaker, and you're pouring out constantly. So sometimes you have no idea where it's falling and where it's, what cup is catching it out there, so to speak, when you think of like dumping a bucket of water out the window, which is kind of like what speaking is. Like, okay, I'm dumping this bucket of goodness that I've, really painfully filled up myself, and I'm hoping that somebody catches it. You just don't know who's catching it. So it matters when people like you come back, and I'm sure for you as well, when your clients and students and other people that you've impacted come back and really say thank you, which is not what you're looking for, but you really appreciate it, because it could totally just add more. I know for me today, as we're recording this and we're dealing with our website being hacked and all kinds of stuff since last night and all the nonsense, which, as an entrepreneur, it happens. It's just stuff. And we got all the, pieces in place to handle it, but we're still like, like in the background.
Yep.
How awesome is it to get this unsolicited thank you? And, for that, I have to thank you back, because I really do appreciate that, truly.
Yeah, I won't stop. It's never going to stop. I'm always going to be a heart-centered entrepreneur. I think that for us to really truly have success, we have to have a measure of humility. Mm-hmm. And that humility is knowing that I didn't get here on my own.
Amen.
Like, we will never, you want to reach heights of 6 figures, 7 figures, you're not going to do that on your own. Someone has to help you along the way. And I don't ever want to forget that, because by being cognizant of that, I know that when the pivots need to happen or changes need to happen, or I deal with losses, because of course there's always a big risk when you have, when you're an entrepreneur. It helps me to appreciate that as long as I continue to serve from the heart and serve my community the way that you've demonstrated, I'll be just fine, and I don't ever want to take for granted the kindness that's been shown to me. I'll prevent my blessings. And that's a lot of times, a lot of entrepreneurs cannot make it until, year 5 because of that. It's that mindset that we've got to conquer, to really make it through.
No, 1,000% agree. And I think it also allows you, when you're ready, even though you're really uncomfortable, to take another big step, right? Like, to make a decision, like, you know what, there's another opportunity for me on the other side of the country, which I know you've done, like, you're like, I have a whole husband and a whole set of kids.
But know what? I get my speaking gigs not because I'm toting myself around. I'm the world greatest speaker. No,
Right.
I come in and I serve from the heart. I don't solicit people to speak.
Right.
They're contacting me.
Right.
And it's not in a way of boasting, but it's in a way because I choose to serve from the heart. I choose to say thank you to people that take the time to invite me, and when you come from that place, everything falls. When you come from that place and you focus on that, everything will fall into place.
Yeah,
Just got to
it's
be
so
patient,
true.
you know?
Yeah, patience is key. I definitely agree. Patience is key. And once you realize that you have something working, like you do, like you're attracting the speaking engagements that not only have you already worked for by showing up and showing full out when you do hit a stage, but you also are attracting it based on the energy that you're putting out in this space of gratitude, right? Like, and being ready. But you also have to be willing to say yes when it comes, because some people ask for things and then it arrives on their doorstep and they're like,
That's true.
I'm not ready for that, right? And I definitely know that I've been guilty of that. Like, I thought I was ready for something, and then it came to my door, and I'm like, wait, I got to lose 15 more pounds. I got to get another wardrobe. I can't do that interview yet. Whatever. And of course, it was a younger mindset of just not understanding that optics matter as well, because, people do pay attention, but it's not the only thing that matters. And it's just one small ingredient. And if you start putting the optic of something, of how you look, or, what you think something needs to be, the website has to look like this collateral speaker's kit must be like this before you actually say yes to something, you're going to miss your opportunity, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing with entrepreneurship is that a lot of the steps that you're taking, you don't have a clear path in front of you. A lot of times, I don't know if you've ever driven in like um, a fog, and you can't see but so far ahead of you. You even put on your high beam lights and you still can't see, so you got to inch your way forward. That's exactly what entrepreneurship is like. And you have to take steps in order to gain momentum. And in that momentum, you'll get your clarity. So for me, and even what I've seen for you, is like you've got to be willing to understand who you are, understand your strengths, and then move forward with that. But also understand what your worth is, because there was a lot of challenge I had, and you've coached me through this, of charging. At some point you have to, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't make my impact that I wanted to make until I stepped into what I was, my greatness. I think that's the best way of explaining it. I had to step into that and say, okay, there's also a measure of humility that keeps you from feeling like you're inadequate. Like the self-sabotage will come in there too. Like you take it too far, right?
Right. 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 Right.
Like, okay, you're humble, great, wonderful, but like you still need to pay some bills around here. So
Exactly.
you can't be like, oh well, I'll do it for free. And there are times where you will do that.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but um yeah, so I just feel like that's been a big part of my journey, is being able to recognize that.
No, absolutely. And to your point, like, you can't enjoy your life if you're out here giving out all of the good stuff that you've slaved over. You've invested in your professional development, your personal development, your leadership development, as well as your actual skill set as an educator, right? Like with all the tools that you've had to learn to be able to teach other people from that. And then to package it all up into 45 minutes as a keynote and give it for free. You going home and your husband like, so this why we can't go on vacation? Right? Like, okay. So, and the girls are looking at you like, okay, mom, so this is why we got to stay in here and we got to have another quote unquote staycation in the living room. And it's not, it's not because we want to, it's because we have to, like it's different. No, I totally agree. So I have to ask you before we wrap up, Jazz, with everything that you have going on, including the big pivots that you're making as you welcome in the next level of yourself, because it's already on its way to you, right? And you're stepping in to this bolder decision of being able to say, you know what, I'm ready for something more. I want to play on a different field and I'm ready to go forward. How do you give yourself permission to pause?
I give myself permission to pause by honoring and knowing that I am enough, and then setting up boundaries to protect that. I am a natural giver, and I'm a giver to default. I'll give even when I'm completely empty. And so I have to protect that as much as possible. And one of the things that I appreciate from what I've learned from you is that you can give, but also know that um, there's power in giving yourself permission to pause, but also to love, which is what is featured in your book. And
yes,
and
honey.
and that book is one of the most powerful things that I've read that helped me to appreciate that the space that I am in, that I'm involving in, is my way of giving myself permission to pause and allowing that to grow and being okay with um, choosing myself.
Yeah. Amen to
Choosing
that.
myself.
Amen to that. You know, I'm hashtag selfish all day. So
Yeah, it's a kind of a strange place to be in when you say it the first time,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Especially if you grew up with a Christian background.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea is to say, you know, you put others before yourself. And I'm always been black and white, and I've done that to a default, but at the same time I'm actually hindering myself in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you know, I'm the first partaker, which is, you know, why I'm trying to reclaim that word and make it more powerful. Is I feel like we have been shamed by the need to redefine it, you know, and I've been guilty of saying it years ago. I would say, oh, you know, self-care isn't selfish, choosing myself, deciding not to go to that third divorce party, you know, the friend that's not even that close of a friend because she don't ever come to nothing I do anyway. But, you know, convincing myself to do that just to people please and, you know, all of that. Like, oh, you know, that's not selfish. It's just my self-care, and trying to constantly redefine it when the reality is, so what? It's selfish. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 6 weeks, whatever it is that you want. But I'm doing it as are you. You're doing it to be a better wife, to be a better mom, to be a better coach, to be a better lover, like, and to be a better human, because now you can do things without regret. You don't have to pretend that you want to be somewhere that you really don't want to be. You can say, no, I'm not going to that. No explanation needed.
Yep.
and that's it. But when I do show up, honey, right? Like when I show up, I'm coming with all kinds of love and goodies and full intention and full activation of self. And anyone who's in that, you know, hemisphere around that me in that moment is going to receive some amazing magic, because I know that's what I'm worthy of receiving myself as well as pouring out. So, you know, it took me a while to get used to it too, quite honestly, but now I'm certified in it. I'm like, certified selfish. Hey! So how can people connect with you, Jazz?
They can find me at jasminhaley.com. I'm a Jasmine without an E, JasminHaley.com, or on Instagram and Facebook at It's Jasmin Haley.
I love that you're like Jasmine without an E. Don't confuse me. I heard the power in that.
Constant struggle. My life. Correcting the spelling.
I can only imagine, because the default is to add an E, so I can only imagine.
Yes.
I love you so much. I appreciate and honor you carving out this time for us today, Jazz. You are amazing in everything, in all your ways. And I look forward to not only continuing to watch and to participate and to fellowship with you offline, but I also look forward to hearing how many Balance Boldly listeners went to JasminHaley.com and followed up and got in touch and participated not only in the amazing podcast that you have, Breakthrough to Excellence, hello, but also to be a part of the journey with you, because I know you're looking for your next success story, just as many other coaches that are heart-centered that want to pour into other people. So I encourage everyone to go follow you there.
Oh, thank you, Naketa. This has been such a pleasure. I love you more than you know, honey. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, Balance Boldly listeners, thank you so much for honoring this space that Jasmin and I have held for you today. I loved participating in this kind of conversation on air and playing with her. We have the best conversations offline, so it definitely was good to invite you in kind of to this virtual kitchen conversation that we were having. So I honor you as well for carving out this time to listen, distracted free, hopefully, when you did it. If you have not already subscribed, make sure you do. Subscribe, rate, and share to help us ensure that the other ambitiously bold and brave have access to these valuable life, love, and business balance tools. Connect with me at Ask Naketa on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever your heart's desire. I'm happy to engage in the conversation. And if you have not picked up Selfish, Permission to Pause, Live, Love, and Laugh Your Way to Joy, it is available in 40,000 locations. So go online anywhere and you can get it. Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, you name it, it's there. Praise God, it's available. In the interim, go create your balance, create your joy, but remember to do it boldly. I'm Naketa Thigpen. Thank you for listening.